my web browser, and here is the homepage of the platform, globalcloud.uk.fujitsu.com. And I've also loaded up our German colleagues' platform. As you can see, the look and feel is exactly the same. This one here is our US platform, and here is our Australian platform. So we talk about this standard offering. There's no complexity. You are logged into one portal. You could go and have an account on another platform, and it's exactly the same look, feel, and functionality. There are a number of things here that we can do. We've got the service overview, which gives a slide deck around the platform, its benefits, its usage. Here we've got our service charges, which I can show you here. We have some, considerations and prerequisites. We have a library. We have an FAQ. Here, we have a 24/7 support desk. So they support the infrastructure, the portal, any questions that you have. You can phone them up with a free phone number, or even email them, and they will respond to you. And that is all part of the service. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sign into the platform. And what I want you to note here is that I've already registered an account. And registering an account is very simple. You can sign up. One thing to note is that this is not a consumer cloud offering, cloud platform. We do restrict this to registered companies, charities, government organizations, in order to create a trusted community cloud. We do not offer credit card billing. That way we can give the assurance that the users within our platform are using it for bona fide reasons and uses, rather than perhaps some of the other more public consumer clouds where we've read in the press that they have been exploited by hackers or other organizations to use the infrastructure to launch attacks. So this is very much a platform designed for business, designed for the enterprise market, and is restricted to that. And if an organization wishes to become a member and is not a registered company, we're working with a number of incubators and startups. We will obviously work with them, but the point is here is that we want to make sure that the members of the platform are using it for the right reasons, because that again safeguards the services for the rest of our users as well. Once you are registered, you'll log in with the username and password that you've created, but the first time you've done that, it will then ask you to issue you a encrypted certificate. And then once that's done, it is the only way you can access the platform. You can revoke the certificate if you feel that someone has taken a copy, so you have full control, but we get away from a username and password, so a two-factor authentication process. So I'm going to choose the certificate for this particular account, and I'm straight in here. And a couple of things to note, and we will come back to a few of these. User management. We have an account that has been created by the person in the organization that is going to be rolling this service out. It is flexible enough to be able to offer this out to a variety of users. And the great thing here is that you have the flexibility and the freedom to be able to offer these services out to your team. So no longer have you got to worry about the frustration that you might have with the new generation of tech developers that are used to, consuming cloud services in a public cloud, and then having to expense it back, or it's uncontrolled and you don't know where the data is, or where in fact your IP is, because developers that are working as employees, at the end of the day, the company owns that IP. And if that's in a public cloud, then IT directors, CIOs, CTOs are losing visibility and control of that. So we've added this user management capability. And then also from the access control, what this enables you to do is to create privileges and then to be able to assign those roles to both the central account, so someone can just design a system, someone else might be able to design and deploy, because that is consuming and therefore will be charged. And then down to the actual virtual system management, we can have a design and builder that has full scope within that virtual system to reconfigure, to do backups, to be able to VPN in and take control of the servers, and you can mix and match those privileges, create your own, as I've done here, and then assign those roles to the user on a per virtual system layer or a full account layer. But if we actually then go back to the portal, and this is the key tool that interfaces into the global cloud platform. This is where we design our new systems. This is where we manage our existing virtual systems. This is where we can control our backups, our templates, our images, which I'll touch about in a minute. If we look at the system manager, I already have some virtual systems already being used. And in fact, I can see here a colleague of mine is doing some development and test work, and he's just restarted this machine as we speak. I can see graphically here that what virtual machines are on, which are off, whether it has any attached disk storage. We have a load balancer here. I can also see the network connectivity, which we'll come to in a minute. And very quickly, I can see the structure of my virtual systems. I can, if I need be, also see that as a list and very quickly see what's running and what's stopped. It's about controlling and having visibility of your virtual infrastructure, what's being used, what's being consumed, and what's being charged. But what I want to do now is go into the design studio. And what you'll see here is that it is a very simple 5-step process. And everything is template driven. So when we go to the first process, that I'm offered a way of what type of template, architectural template, do I want to design my system on. And we talked about security earlier. Well, this is another area of security. So the security of the infrastructure and the user. But here, we offer you the security within your own virtual system. We can have a simple 1-tier, where virtual machines just sit within a internet-facing zone. A 2-tier, where we might have our web servers in our DMZ, but our application services or our data in a secure zone, so that only internet traffic can communicate here and not here. The only thing that can communicate with virtual resources in the secure zone is those within the top layer. We can also create our own templates. So I could create a proof of concept, a new application service, template it, and very quickly from the design studio, check the user template I want and deploy that rapidly. But for this particular exercise, I'm going to choose the highest security layer, the 3-tier skeleton, and click Next. I'm going to give it a name. And here I get to choose what type of connectivity I want to allow this virtual system to have. I could have nothing, and it would be locked down. The only access I have is through creating the SSL VPN connection from a user's client PC to the virtual system and running and controlling my virtual resources that way. Most services would probably have some form of internet connectivity. And the intranet connectivity enables you to communicate with other virtual systems within your account. So if you've got one application service that's doing one job, but you might rely on data that resides on another virtual system, but you need to segregate them from a security perspective, by using the intranet connectivity, you can have that security and that control and have that data flow between the virtual resources in one virtual system to another. Additionally, the intranet connectivity enables an organization to communicate with physical infrastructure or infrastructure that resides on in other data centers, as long as it can connect to the Fujitsu core network, which we can provide through our network services division, then you can use the cloud in order to either use it as a cloud DR, because the physical infrastructure, it is cost prohibitive to replicate that physically, or you might want to be able to create new services but still rely on data that you wish to keep within the confines of your physical data center. Or you might want to be able to use the cloud for bursting, so exploiting the flexibility and the scalability of cloud to be able to add additional compute or storage for existing services that reside within a data center physically and communicate with the cloud. I'm just going to use the internet connection here. And here we have our template. So I have my DMZ, my Secure 1, and Secure 2. Every single virtual system that is created will always have a firewall attached to it. And when that virtual system is deployed, the firewall runs immediately and blocks all traffic. And I will briefly show you how you can configure that firewall in order to open the necessary ports open, so you have full control of that. I want to be able to have a global public IP address that we can provide. You can have up to 10 global IP addresses per virtual system. And here on the right-hand side, I have my templates. So we have a variety of different operating system templates. Windows, we have a CentOS Linux template. Red Hat is coming on stream in the coming months. And also we have some SQL Server templates and IIS templates. We will be providing further templates both from an operating system layer and also an application layer, so that are open to all of our clients and customers, and you can add that into your virtual system without having to worry about having to install the application on top of the operating system. Additionally, if you've created a virtual machine and you have installed your own application, you can take an image of that and store that image, and then that would also come in to the user image area. And here is one I prepared earlier, which is a simple Windows 2003 server where I've installed Sugar CRM, an open source CRM application. By dragging that in and loading that up, I can then log in and configure that, and it's already got the application pre-built. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some servers, and it's very, very simple. I choose what operating system I want, I click, and I drag it into the zone. I give it a name. I can then choose the compute power. So our economy, we have a 1 gigahertz CPU to going up to a high performance 4 gigahertz CPU with 15 gigs of RAM. Now, within cloud architecture, I don't have to worry about space and power. I don't have to worry about having a small blade server that's capable of running multiple applications and multiple workloads, because space and power cost money. I just pick multiple machines to do some single workloads. I can have another one here, and I might want to make that standard. And what hopefully you can see here is the design tool actually calculates how much this virtual system would cost if you were to run it 24/7 in a 31-day month. So the worst case scenario, but the whole point with cloud is you run your core infrastructure 24/7, and then you can add resources and only start and stop them when you need them, and then only get charged. So this is the worst case scenario. I'm going to put in here a SQL server here, and I'm going to put some disk space in, and I can go up to from 10 gigs up to a terabyte and have up to 14 disks allocated to a single virtual machine. And actually I'm going to put a load balancer in here for maintenance, and also to assist with the traffic load across these web servers. And I can then, put in some more servers if I want to put in a flat data storage in my secure zone here, there, so that the internet traffic can only talk to the web servers can talk to that database, and if the database needs to call off data that's held in here, it can, to provide that service. I click Next, and I get a full breakdown of the costs. So the unit price, we've worked out, again, 744 hours in a month, but this charge would be dependent on how many hours you're running, how much data is stored, how much network traffic that you might use within that period. And you can see here that I'm charged by the gig or by the hour, and for the licenses I'm charged by the month. I can output that as a PDF. I can also output that as a CSV file, or I can save that estimate and then come back when I want to deploy it. I click Next. I agree to the terms and conditions. I click Final Confirmation, and then the portal sends that instruction to the platform to build that virtual system, utilizing the compute power, the servers, the CPU, the storage that resides within our data center. I'm just going to wait a few seconds for that. And here I can click on my system, and I can see this now being deployed. Now, I'm just going to go over to one I prepared earlier. It's a similar layout. It's only 2-tier. But what I want to be able to show you here is how easy it is to reconfigure. So suddenly I realized that I need some additional server. So I can just add one in here. Or I might want to add in some more disk over to here. And then I can click Next. It shows me my breakdown and highlights my additional elements. Again, agree, press Final Confirmation. And then again, we can see the changes that have been made. Now, a couple of things I want to show you here. So we've got this global IP address, 62.60.19.231, 62.60.19.231, and we can see that web page being served. This isn't the lag here is on my corporate network, not necessarily on the internet, and we will therefore see a web page coming up very shortly. But you will see here that I've configured this firewall to open all the necessary rules. So I simply go, I want internet traffic in to the web servers in the DMZ, and I can add my rule. I give it a ID. I can specify a particular and specify a particular IP address or fully qualified domain name if I only want to accept traffic from a particular machine or on a particular port. I can specify where it's going to go to, so the public IP address, and I can create some logs. And I would just go through that so you can see here that these are all the rules that I've set up. Another important point is that within the data center, we have some shared services. So we have our own DNS server, our own time protocol server, our own update server, both for Linux, the Yum server, and the Windows WSUS server. When our Red Hat comes on board, we'll have the update server for that. And what this means is you do not have to go out to the public internet in order to get your updates. You can confine your traffic for those types of updates within the island. And there's our home page here. And what I can do is log into that machine. So what I want to be able to do is take a note of that private IP address. So when you log in for the first time, the system will ask you what range of IP addresses you want to use, so you don't get any IP overlap when you log in or you're connecting your physical infrastructure with your virtual infrastructure. And then once that class range has been defined, the system automatically allocates private IP addresses within that range. So I'm using a range of 172.16, and you'll see here that this layer is the .8, and this layer is the .9 for those technical people on the call. If I want to now take control, I click on this button, the VPN connection, and it asks me what zone I want to communicate with. So again, security, it's not going to let me into the whole system or to the whole account. It is targeting the individual zone. So I'm going to click connect. And the first time you do this, it will install the SSL VPN client. And as I'm through a proxy server, it will probably ask me for my details. But the system will now ask me what certificates I want. It will ask me twice and then the password that I originally did. So we've got 3 steps of authentication even before we're allowed to have control of our virtual machines. And now I know that I've got my SSL VPN connection created because I've got this padlock. So what I'm now going to do is, because it's a Windows machine, I'm going to use the remote desktop connection. I'm going to check the IP address, and I'm also going to check the initial password that's been set up for the administrator role within the virtual machine. And here I am logging into that Windows system. And there we are. I have full remote control of my virtual machine. And what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to go into the IIS server. Here, and I'm going to change that file. Here. I'm going to save that. I'm going to restart or refresh my IIS server. I'm then going to come into my web browser, and then I'm going to show you the changes that have been made. So we talk about agility of change by scaling up and scaling out of resources, but actually the services that reside within that virtual machine can be changed immediately as well. And another note to make is, because this is internet-based, I'm using a web browser with the Fujitsu Stylistic Q550. I successfully showed a an event yesterday of being able to show exactly this demo on a tablet through 3G connection. So with the portability of that type of device, with the power of the computing, you've got total control anytime, anywhere. And now lastly, I just want to show you a couple of other things. So here I could bring this down and take an image, which, as I said, I could then have a snapshot of that and then be able to use that for further designs or reconfiguration. The template manager, where I can actually take a snapshot of this template and redeploy it. And here I can also take a backup of that system as well, and be able to restore from that. And one last thing on the actual portal that I wanted to show you is about visibility. So we talk about the control that you have through the tool and the control you have over your users and what they can do, but cost, one of the driving aspects of adopting cloud is about controlling costs. And so here, within the actual portal, we will show you from the first day of the month up until midnight the previous day, your running costs broken down by component. So you can quickly see how much you're consuming on a daily basis. And if need be, we can go into our individual virtual systems and see what they've consumed here as well. So if there is a system that should have been shut up, a dev and test that's been running 24 hours a day for the last 3 weeks but really shouldn't, then you will have that visibility and be able to make the decision on whether that needs to be shut down or not. And under total service charges, what we can see here is we've got a breakdown of all of the accounts that have been created. Here, as you can see, many, and I can go here and I can see all of the costs historically. Now, I'm going to hand back to Sandra now and field any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Ladies and gentlemen, your question and answer session will now begin. If you wish to ask a question, simply key *1 on your telephone. If you then decide to withdraw that question, simply key *2. All questions will be answered in order received, and you'll be advised when to ask your question. All other lines will remain on listen only. Alternatively, you may submit a question on the web by typing your question in the question and answer section on your screen, then clicking on the Ask button. Just to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you do wish to ask an audio question, simply key *1 on your telephone. Okay, we do have a question for you, and it comes from Daniel Smith. Please go ahead, Daniel.
Hi, Adam.
Hello, Daniel.
Hello. We had a meeting today that we discussed over the phone. One of the questions that came out was, they have quite a heavy SQL database that exists on a single physical server.
Mm-hmm.
If they put that into the cloud, there is obviously restrictions on the high performance and restriction on the memory.
That's right.
How do we get over that?
Well, as I sort of said earlier, that being a standard cloud platform, we do have the functionality that exists today, and in our development roadmap, we will be improving the compute power and other elements. But this is only one part of the cloud portfolio that Fujitsu offers. So, where we look at the local cloud platform within the UK, and I know that there are other regions that have their local cloud platforms, if the capabilities of the global cloud platform don't necessarily meet the requirements that are required, the local cloud platform might be a better option. And what we are working with clients at the moment is rather than saying, well, this is my solution, do I need to put everything on the local cloud platform and not use the global cloud platform? We say no, because we have the capability to integrate systems on the local cloud platform with resources that might be on the global cloud platform and be able to create a hybrid cloud that way.
Right.
So what I would suggest is that we would look at the spec and really go back to the client and be able to work out, well, within the solution, what is the absolute requirement you want, and be able to work on the technology that meets that requirement. More than happy to have a chat with you about that after this session.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. We have no more audio questions, but we have some on the web for you. The first one says, I may have missed this, but how do we deploy EM and AV?
So those types of stacks are not currently within the templates, but because we're providing the virtual machine at the operating system level, you can install those via data transference from a client PC over the SSL VPN connection, or if it is a standard AV offering or EM offering, that you could use having an internet-enabled virtual machine and then being able to download the install file onto that virtual machine and then installing it that way. But again, more and more templates, not just from an operating system level, but an application level and a service level, will be coming on stream. AV being one, backup is another form of backup is another. We are committed to this platform and we'll be rolling out more and more services.
Thank you. We have another question on the web for you. It says, Adam, what use case would you consider GCP?
What user case? So, a very interesting question. So what we're finding is that the Global Cloud Platform is brilliant for things like the traditional dev and test that people always talk about when we talk about cloud, proof of concept, new services, thinking more about the ability to create new applications and services on the cloud, or being able to transfer non-mission critical services, web pages. We've been talking to a client, my American colleagues have been talking to a global organization which is looking at using GCP for controlling brand guidelines and brand images. So you use the Global Cloud Platform to have that as a repository and be able to then have your local offices be able to pull that through. We're talking to organizations about SharePoint deployments, where you haven't got the sort of really big beefy Oracle databases or SAP instances. That is better suited to a much more managed service because, as my colleague Dan mentioned earlier, the requirements are slightly higher than we can provide. But it has a great place for that agility, for being able to just be able to deploy services that extend web services, or the ability to have that cost control around a dev and test or proof of concept model.
Thank you. We have another question on the web for you. It says, hi Adam, you touched briefly on the plans to link the regional islands via the WAN. What is the timescale for this? Also, does this, if I run an island in CEMEA, I interconnect an application running in the Asia SOP? Thanks, John.
That is the goal, absolutely. The timescales that we've been given is that the network guys are currently have done the design. They are now looking at the implementation roadmap. I believe that we are looking at sometime mid next year, if not earlier. And then the next stage of that is the portal interface and the integration. So that, this idea that I've created my virtual system on the UK portal, and I want to then replicate that in the Samir and I portal platform for either DR or for being able to connect resources. So it may be a central file server or database that resides in one platform, where the actual application servers are then distributed across the other regional platforms using the intranet connectivity that I showed you as part of the design studio. So that's the goal. But I'm afraid I can't categorically say month, day that that's going to be launched, but it is on our roadmap, and we are looking at sometime next year for that. But saying that, we in the UK have got clients that, although that is brilliant and they wait with anticipation for that capability, they still want to deploy an international solution now by having individual accounts with the Samir and I platform, the Singapore platform, the Australian platform, and using the internet connectivity to be able to share data, because it's such a big project that they want that proof of concept first. They want those processes bedded in. They can realise some immediate benefits by doing it this way, and then can wait for the global WAN to be connected and have better management control of when that comes on stream next year.
Thank you. We have another question on the web for you, and it's from Jeff Parkers. It says, how big can the UK instance of the platform grow? E.g., could it manage 50,000 instances?
50,000 instances. If you were to deploy that now, have the business case, then we would deploy our second island very, very quickly. So we have a finite resource, Jeff, of compute and storage. We are actively managing that, and once we get to a flat line of around about 45%, we then start looking at that, analysing that against the pipeline forecast and consumption forecast, and then when we get to around 60%, we will then look at deploying a second island. If you wanted 50,000 instances now, that would probably have to be shared across platforms. But obviously, with that type of solution being required, then we would be able to push the business case to deploy the second island a lot quicker. And the other note on that is, we talk about this as being an evolution of architecture, and what that means is that, the current island is version 1, island 2 might be version 2, island 3, 4, and 5 might be version 3, but we don't have to do necessarily any migration, or the customer doesn't. It will just work backward compatible, so any virtual resources that reside on one island will be able to communicate with resources on another island within the same account, in order to get business continuity, or not have any impact on business continuity.
Thank you. We have no more questions for you.
Well, thanks ever so much for your time. I hope that was useful. If we have any external interested parties, which I know there are a few that have been invited by your account managers, more than happy to have further conversations about the platform and how that can help your organisation. I've just briefly put up a summary here. I just want to go through, this is a key to the global, the Fujitsu cloud offering now and going forward, working with existing and new portfolio offerings. And it's really about making sure that you have the confidence in the security where your data resides and in the systems, and the reliability and the redundancy of the platform. That you can easily extend this functionality through the user management tool and be able to control the access privileges. I've shown you how you can deploy, and also how you can take control of existing systems in minutes. And it's all about innovation. It's about having that idea and being able to go to market quickly without having to worry about the research and development costs or the budget and the capital expenditure that traditionally you would have to do. We provide the support of the platform, of the portal. We have a support desk there to help you with any questions, and always there. It's a pay-as-you-go service in its truest sense, and you have that visibility in order to make sure that you're getting the best benefit financially from adopting this cloud technology. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your conference call for today. You may now disconnect. Thank you for joining and enjoy the rest of your day.